Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is the Fraternal Outdoors podcast. This one is a quick little hot mic that we did with our buddy Kyle, Box Ghost, as many of our fraternity brothers will know. And he was back from being stationed overseas, and he was kind enough to come and help Sean and I with one of our projects with one of our boats. And we turned on the equipment and recorded for a little while. We didn't get it on video, but we did get some of the work we did on the boat on video. So this one will be us talking with some B-roll time lapse of us working on the boat the afternoon prior to recording. So this is dropping after Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to all of my friends and family that served, as well as anybody else listening that served. Thank you for your service, and God bless. Hope you enjoy the episode. If you want your mic lower or higher, just say so. We can adjust it.
I mean, it's just the one mic.
It's just one mic.
Sorry, your headphones.
Oh, the headphones?
Yeah, the headphones are individually adjustable.
Yeah, so you can make it so you can hear.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, no, the headphones fine.
There you go.
So I'm at 9, but I'm hard of hearing, so you probably ought to be able to hear it pretty clear.
I'm not hard of hearing yet, but it's getting there. It will happen. Eventually.
Now here's the question, Woodrow. Are you going to throw an intro on this just in case we use it?
I never do for hot mics, so I always do them in
just do it in post.
Yeah, do it in post.
He just does it. And then when he talks about duck hunting, it's a different story.
Oh, that's because I got a boner for duck hunting. I can talk about that shit all day long.
That or ice fishing or something.
Ice fishing's more like John Wade and Dorfman. We do it because we're like, yeah, we want to fucking do it. But
I like it.
if you're going to tickle me...
It's a sore subject because we haven't had the weather and I can't go. And I bought a nice ice shanty during COVID with my stimulus money. Actually, it was gain share at work. Like, I got gain share at work. And it was right after it was right when I changed jobs. So I got a nice raise moving jobs.
When you moved to Zippo.
When I went to Zippo, I got a nice raise because, where I worked previously was a great place to work, but it was a small company and they just didn't have the funds to pay what an engineer should be getting paid.
Yeah.
It's like they were low paid for the area, but it was a nice family oriented company, and I had a lot of love for that company, but I got laid off during COVID right before Harper was born. So I started applying frantically. Like, she was born while I was laid off. Emergency C-section.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was super stressful, and I was just applying for like everywhere I could think of. Because I'm like, I have to be employed. I gotta provide. Yeah, I gotta provide for my family. Oh my god, like medical bills. I don't know what.
Like, this just happened. I'm about to have a dog.
Yeah, crazy
now.
stuff happened. I actually called back. I called back my previous employer, and I'm like, hey, I know it was a layoff. You didn't know if it was gonna be temporary or long term, but I know you got some reverse engineering jobs coming in. That was something I specifically did for them when I worked for them, and I was kind of the only guy. Like, they had an inspection engineer and other places. Like, there were people very capable of filling the role, but it was extra bandwidth they were going to have to take on their already full jobs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm still unemployed. Like,
it's like, I need a job. I need a job right now.
My kids, I'm calling you from the hospital room, man.
My kid's about to be born.
Yeah, was in the NICU and gonna have surgery.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it just so happened, they're like, yep, we can take you back. I got onboarded, but in the meantime, Zippo gave me, like, as I was coming back to work, Zippo was responding because I had already
applied to them.
I had applied, like, they had my resume. I did a online interview, or like a over the phone type of interview. And that went well, and they were calling me back for a second interview. So one of the days that I had off to go up to the hospital, I got up early, did an in-person interview with them, and went up to the hospital, and ended up getting the job at Zippo. So that worked out nicely, but it was still
middle of COVID.
Yeah, you know,
That all happened in the middle of COVID, so it was just it was crazy, man. Like, I interviewed with a mask on. Like, that was policy then.
Just thinking about that back then was just insane.
Mm-hmm.
About like
I went out to lunch with what is now the director of my department.
Huh.
And, yeah, we had masks on until we got to the seats and took them off. She's like,
God.
oh, yeah, it doesn't matter when we sit
times.
down.
I
It was
hated
so
those
silly.
times. I remember going, you know, I finished up HVAC, I got a degree in HVAC, and then I went back to Alfred, and I was like, alright, I want to do heavy equipment operations like EJ did. So I was like, alright, well, me and Rig, I remember we were roommates in the row house.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going, and then all of a sudden, just like out of nowhere, hey, leave for a week and then come back. And we're like, leave for a week, and then everybody starts hearing about this COVID-19 coming around. I come back, it's a fucking ghost town.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? And everybody's spraying down stuff, and I look at Rig and I'm like, what is going on? And it just left. No one was there anymore, and it's the middle of the semester. I'm just like, this
Nobody
is
came back.
No, it was a ghost town. Like, no one came back. Everybody grabbed their shit and left. I remember just going in the roadhouse, and me and Rig grabbed our stuff and packed up the car and just was gone. And you could just see people, like, put closing signs on their businesses and shit. I was like, Alfred's going downhill now. I was like, holy shit, like, what happened?
What's gonna be the end?
No. And then I remember just doing classes at home. And then I'm like, alright, well, I failed out. I'm not doing this anymore. And the whole COVID and just me being just a student and bored every time I got up in the morning and do it. And I was talking to my teacher, and he was an asshole. And I was like, oh, fuck this. So,
Yeah.
and then working with Rig, and then working for Amazon, and then going into the service right after that.
Yeah.
So it was just
Crazy.
crazy.
Traveling the world during COVID.
Yeah, I remember going to Missouri, and then we had to wear the mask, and then get the flu, like all the shots and shit like that. And then we stayed in the barracks for like 2 weeks, quarantine, doing nothing but reading the book of like learning how to be a soldier. I was like, oh, this is really boring. Fuck. So then you finally did your training, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then comes the day I graduate, and I'm like, all right, where am I going? Oh, I'm going to South Korea.
Do you have to do ruck marches with masks on?
No, thank God. I was about to say, like, holy shit, if I had to do that. No, we did have to wear a mask half the fucking time doing.
Yeah.
It was annoying. But I never had to do a ruck march with that. I did have to wake up at like 3, 4 in the morning just to do a goddamn ruck march.
Imagine drill sergeant fucking bitching you out because he can't understand you because of the fucking mask, and you're just like,
There were times like that.
help.
Hello?
Fucking wake you up in the night for drill, and it's like fucking everybody's supposed to stand at attention at the foot of their beds. And
No,
you're
so
fucking,
they
you
would-
better have your mask on.
So we would have fire guards. So there would be people up, and then the drill sergeant would come on. There would be one drill sergeant. They would do a 24-hour shift basically, and he or she would come along and check in the room that you guys were sleeping in. And if someone wasn't doing something right, they'll just look and smile at you, and they go, "Okay, I'll be back." Turn on the lights and explain to them why they have to fucking wake up. And then, like, it literally happened to me. So like, we switched shifts, and I was on a shift. I think I was doing a double because I just wanted to. And there's this one kid I switched with. He was changing in the middle of the bay. He wasn't changing in the bathroom. He's changing in the middle of the bay, which you weren't supposed to do. So the drill sergeant came along, and I'm just watching him with no flashlight, just walk around. And he walks past the kid, slowly turns back, turns his head, and just watches the kid get dressed in the middle. And he has no idea he's being watched. And he just, like, shakes his head. He's like, okay, yep. And then finally the kid looks at him, and he's just like, oh, shit. And he goes right in bed, and he's like, I don't give a shit. And the drill sergeant comes to me, and he's just like, turn on the lights, let him know why, and I'll be back in like 5 minutes. And I'm like, yes, drill sergeant, got it. And then turn on the lights, and I'm like, everybody wake up. And everybody woke up and got on the line. They're like, why are we here? I'm like, oh, I forgot. I forgot. I forgot. And the drill
Oh
sergeant,
my God.
he walks in. He walks in. He's like, "Did you
want your weight?"
Yeah.
No.
He walks. Everybody's up now, and I'm just standing there with a thumb
Hughes
up my ass.
forgot.
He forgot. And he looks at me. He's like, "Did you tell him?" I'm like, "Oh, no, drill sergeant. What am I telling him?" I'm like, "I got it. Don't worry." And he explains like what was happening and why they're up. We're like, "All right, start doing push-up. Let's go. Up, down, up." Like everybody was all pissed off and moody. And it was like 3 a.m. by that time, and we're like, "Oh, we have to wake up in like 2 fucking hours." Like, yay!
That's awesome. If you probably saved that dude that changed in the middle of the room's ass, because if you had told them all and your drill sergeant wasn't coming back for another like 3 minutes, he'd have been on the line bloody. Like,
He probably would, but he was one of those. He was an asshole. He was one of those kids.
well, he definitely would have been on the line
He
bloody
definitely would have
then.
been on the line. But there was one time that it was like our last day, and so our drill sergeant was like, it was an honor, all that. So that you play the game of acting the role of a drill sergeant. That's just how it is. So we're gonna miss you, blah blah blah, whatever. So we get done with going to the defect, of eating food, and then we get fucked up in the pit, because there's a pit and there's all tire parts in the pit.
Yeah.
So people sweat here, everything's in there. They don't change it out, so you're tasting dust and people sweat and piss and everything else. You're tasting it. You're gonna have a great time with it. Like, you're gonna low crawl inside of this, and you're gonna taste it in your mouth.
It's the flavor.
It is
saver.
generation after generation. You better deserve to be on that pit. So they fuck us up one more time with that. So we're like, okay. So he's like, all right, graduation's tomorrow. Be honored. Blah blah. You're finally fucking soldiers. You're worth these piece of shits. So he's walking away, and one of our guys, he's like, drill sergeant, and he turns around. He's like, yeah. And he's like, fuck us up one more time. And he's like, what? He's like, fuck us up one more time. And we have one kid in the background in the beginning of the whole entire session of the being in basic. He's a smart kid, somewhat, because he's like, I looked at being a 12 Bravo, which is a combat engineer, literally says combat in the sentence. He didn't think that he would see combat, even though it says it in the sentence. So he wanted to get out when it all started. Like the beginning of basic. He's like, just such, I don't want to be a 12 Bravo anymore. He's like, why? He's like, I didn't know I had to do combat. I read it wrong. It's like, what do you mean you read it wrong? It fucking says it in the goddamn name.
This is a fucking army.
Like, yeah. So
I know there's a lot of roles
I
here,
know.
but at any given point,
So
you're trained and able
I know.
to pick up a
Soldier,
fucking
this is
rifle.
the war on terror.
So
Is this
maybe-
the
We
war part?
got those medals too, the War on Terror. I think we were like the last class to actually get those, even though we never stepped foot in Iraq or anything. But he's sitting there, and he's shaking his head no. He's like, don't do it. You fuckers, don't. And we're like, fuck us up one more time. He's shaking his head no. He's getting pissed off more and more. We keep saying yes and yes, because we don't care. Do it. And finally he's like, all right, you guys asked for it. He's like, God damn it. We get fucked up.
do my job.
We get fucked up one more time. We do these, we call them like diamondback crawls or whatever. So you're on like tile floor and you're crawling with your elbows and knees in shorts and a t-shirt because it was hot out because it was during the summer. And you could feel it. And you're in everybody's sweat. You're behind someone's ass. You're smelling someone's ass while you're going through it. And this kid just has everybody's happy besides this one kid. This one kid just has a stupid, mad look on his face. And we get up and he's just like, Yeah, I'm like, all right, whatever, dude, shut up. We got
Yeah, at a certain point, you just gotta go with the flow.
And we finally graduated, but that kid's probably glad from that point on.
Embrace the suck, kid.
I was
You're
like,
here for it.
you went through it. It literally says 12 Bravo, and it says combat engineer. I don't know what was going through your mind. Like, you're not a supply guy. You're not a medic.
Mm.
You're a guy that's gonna shoot and blow up shit. That's pretty fun.
It sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had to blow up C4 a couple of times.
Actually,
That's cool.
that was part of that episode I was gonna fucking check on.
What?
But they were talking about like the episode that I was watching or listening to of Unsubscribe today.
Mm.
They were talking about EOD, how they're like, Everybody says like Hurt Locker. They're like, yeah, Hurt Locker's not like realistic.
No.
Yeah. They
This
talk
guy's
shit
like,
on that.
yeah, well, the early years of the invasion of Iraq, he's like, Hurt Locker is pretty accurate for EOD because nobody gave a fuck about it. So it was not really a rule on how you do this VBED. Like,
And you can go into the class. They'll like they were telling me when I was in my unit and stuff. Like, do you want to go to EOD or something? Like, I was an engineer. I was building bridges, so I didn't get the chance to do that.
When we're done with this, you can queue it up on there.
Oh.
Now we can watch that little chunk.
So like you can take the class if you want to. I didn't get the choice in doing that, and I didn't want to anyway. And there's like a lot of math that goes involved in it. And like you get to do a lot of cool shit. You get to blow up shit. You get to learn how to make bombs, basically. But they're not. Hurt Locker is accurate, and you get to wear that Juggernaut suit. Like they'll show us. You can walk into a classroom. You're like, all right, sit down. This is what you're gonna learn today. And in the corner, and you can just look in the corner. There's a Juggernaut suit, and they're like, this is like what you would wear, and like it's really tough class because you have to be really good at math.
Yeah.
You have to really be good at conversions and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. And there's a whole bunch of different classes you can go to.
Yeah.
And then like a whole bunch of schools. So not just like regular school for like, oh, I went to college. No, you could like go to Ranger school. You could go to Sapper school. You could go to these schools, and they'll teach you how to be the elite of the elite. Like if you're in the engineer corps, and you went to Sapper.
Get your elbow off the table.
Oh, I'm trying to like not hit the table.
No, you were good, and then like you're sitting on that leaf.
I'm sorry.
With your elbow doing this.
It
and I'm
did
like,
this.
God
Oh,
damn
Damn,
it.
I take the leaf out.
I know we should have taken the leaf out.
My bad.
All right, finish your story.
I was like, if you go to Sapper School in the engineer corps, you're basically the elite and elite. Everybody looked at you as the guy that knew everything, and that you were looked up. Like, you could be the lowest ranking fucking person, and there's another person that's higher than you, and you can have a Sapper tab on. You better hope you're not faking that, because then you're going to get called out in that shit, and it's not fun. And people have been doing that before. And let's say you're like a specialist, and this guy's a fucking like E6, so he's a staff sergeant. The guy looks at you like you're the elite person, and looks at the guy next to you like he's a piece of shit. Like, you don't know shit. I'm gonna listen to this dude. Like, I respect him. Like, and it's like, oh, you don't have to go and pray to us, motherfucker. Come here. You're going to pray us for me. Like, that's how it would work. Because this guy went through it. He's like, this guy. It was tough. It wasn't like super easy. Like, it was tough, and he had to go through. It was short weeks, and you had to go through like intense training with little to no sleep, and you better remember your shit.
Right.
And if you fucked up, you fucked up, but you had a way to.
The blue wire.
Yeah. No, there was a lot that went to it. Apparently, Ranger School is just longer, and it's just more intense, and they're gonna put you out in the middle of the woods. You're like, all right, bye, see you later. Like,
And
found your way, you're back.
Yeah, so that's the Ranger tab.
Yeah, that's the Ranger tab. And a lot of it, like, a lot of people apparently failed because of land nav, and that's what they called it. They pull you out in the middle of the woods and, like, miles from civilization.
Yeah.
You have to find your way back. Good luck, have fun. We're not going to teach you. We're not going to help you.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then you just had to learn it. But you
fucked
had to,
up for us, but like fun.
you had to do it in a timely manner. Like, they gave you a time to do this.
Mhm.
Do you have map and compass or just drop?
No, you have map. I think you have map and compass. I never went to Ranger School, but I've heard it from like other people. And then if you had Ranger and Sapper, what we call it double tabbed, like you were there. No one's gonna fuck with you. And I've seen some officers have that, and I was surprised.
Where did that thing come from? There's a slug on the table.
The fuck?
Look at the slug.
You keep it somewhere.
No.
Hello, little buddy.
Goodbye, little buddy. No.
You can live there for nothing.
I have some good times in the service and bad times, but it's good to be back now than not have to deal with stressful moments anymore. Every time I go to work and it, like, for example, today it rained, I didn't give a shit if it rained.
Right.
These guys gave a shit if it rained. They're like, oh, like, it sucks today. I'm like, dude, just, have a positive attitude. Like, no. I'm like, no, trust me. Like, have a positive attitude. Like, it could be a lot worse than you think.
You don't have to go home and shower. You're already
No, I literally would tell them, like, I'm not trying to bring up the service all the time. I would tell them, like, try being out for 30 days with no dryer at all and limited amount of clothes, and you get soaked. And the only way to dry them off is put them in your sleeping bag and have your body heat dry it off. And you better hope it dries it off. And you have to sleep with it.
Right.
Well, you're in Korea where it's
Korea or
moist.
Texas, like a lot of those times has happened. But yeah, like I've had those times I had to do that. I also had the time where I didn't pack right and I had to deal with the consequences. When it was too cold out and I'm shivering.
It doesn't sound like fun.
No, that was a whole week. It was a stupid week.
I tried to teach you that lesson before when I told you wanted
Yeah, but
something
this
under
time
under that hammock.
I know, and I didn't learn until after that time in Korea.
And then you didn't listen to your own advice.
Sometimes I don't.
No. So we were doing a training event in Korea for like a week. We called it a boat school. You learned how to go to sticks and use the boat.
Yeah.
And it's in April, and I was like, all right, well, dumbass me is like, oh, I'm in, Korea. This is thinking it's the same kind of weather. Like, it's April, it's spring, it's gonna warm up. I'm fucking wrong. It did warm up, but it didn't warm up during the nighttime. So at nighttime it's like 22 degrees. Now everybody else brought we call it snow gear. They brought their, sweatshirts, all that shit.
Thermal layers.
Thermal layers, keep you warm. I didn't bring shit. I just was wearing what I had. And I had a
I think I would have tried to barter with some of my friends.
Yeah. No, I had one advantage over them. Only one. So, I only had... my sleeping bag was the summer one. I didn't have the winter one. Everybody else had a winter. So, I was freezing to death every night. So, I did not get sleep.
Ugh.
But, because it would warm up basically in the afternoon... at like from 22 to 70 degrees, I didn't have to take anything off. They had to take everything off. Because they would tell them, they're like, you're going to go build, you're going to freaking pass out. And people would get heat cat and then they'll pass out. And you had like splash them with water and stuff. I've seen people do that and it's insane how they pass out.
That's wild.
I know. And then the only thing that kept me warm was drinking coffee. And that's how I fall in love with coffee. It was all because of that.
Nice.
Just watching somebody have a Windows 95.
Yeah. We called it Mama San's because she would have this truck that comes up and she would make food with her husband, and you would have beef byogi or chicken and rice or whatever it is. Well, if you have beef byogi, just don't think about it. You might be eating dog. You have no clue, but at least you're just eating food. And funny thing about it is that when we were training over there, you can hear a dog pound like 2 miles up the fucking river. And then sometimes you just hear the dogs bark, and then one day you just don't hear dogs anymore. You're like, oh, well, someone's making food. And you're probably eating it. That's why you just don't think about it. You just eat whatever you have in your food, like in your hand, just eat it. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. It's okay. And then the coffee kept me warm. And it was a huge ass coffee, hot as hell. You burn yourself, but it kept me fucking warm.
Coffee over there, is it different than coffee here, or is it still...
I think it was, like, whatever she made it with, it was fucking good. And it definitely kept me warm because I chugged the damn thing. And I was like, this is the only thing that's going to keep me at least warm inside, and I'm going to have to suffer for the next 12 hours at night. So, it is what it is. But sleeping in trucks is a whole different era. Oh, I hated sleeping in those metal trucks.
Oh,
Yeah.
like cargo, like deuce and a half?
So we
cargo truck?
called it CBTs, which was Common Bridge Transporters. So they're like big ass metal trucks, and it could be up armored or not up armored. They're still a pain in the ass, no matter what it was. Up armored is just heavier, and you're fucking like, oh, I gotta open the damn door, I gotta open the hatch, all that shit. And so they're just big ass metal containers. So you have the front end, and everything else is like you carry the bridge pieces on there, which is nice. It's pretty cool. It can easily get destroyed. You hit an RPG with it, it's blown up. You're dead.
But you're trying to sleep on, like, the back of it?
So no, so it's
like
you.
in the cab.
It's in the cab because there's no back. It's just the cab. That's it.
Cab
There's,
over. So
there's nothing
literally
else. Like a
seat,
pickup
steering
truck.
wheel.
Like a pickup truck, just bigger space, somewhat. So it's you and your passenger driver, and the reason why you have a passenger driver is because you can't see the mirror on the other side. Well, if it's up armored, you can't see the mirror on our side. But if it's not up armored, you can. But I've been in both. So when you're in up armored, you can't see the other side, so your other person inside the truck has to guide you. Like,
has to be your right.
It has to be awake too. Yeah, if you're driving long distances, be awake. And tell you like, hey, you can do a lane switch, because there were times we had to like go through Korean traffic or Texas traffic, and don't hit the car and all that stuff.
Don't flatten the car.
Put on your light. You were in Korea. You know how ladies drive.
Oh, there's
put on your blinker and start moving. Everybody else gets out of the way.
These are like really big trucks, extremely wide. In Korea, they were up armored. We have narrow roads. Just going around places is sketchy enough. Going around bends, you don't know what's coming around the corner, is just insane. And then
the bright side, you're the biggest, heaviest thing on the road.
Oh yeah, like it's not gonna damage us. That car is gonna get destroyed and out of nowhere. Except for like one time, someone hit a fucking fuel truck and all the fuel came out and went on the goddamn road. And we're like, well, that's not good. And you have to go through all different types of like paperwork and stuff, and environmental shit, and then you're in a different country, so it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Don't know how they did it.
Fun.
Someone hit our
impact study.
Yeah. Someone hit our first sergeant's car, his Humvee, and just destroyed the Humvee
with like a
the truck.
Car?
No, with the truck. Because we were going around this bend, and you would get down to the training site, but it's only basically one-way traffic. Because the trucks are so huge. If you use personal vehicles, it's a different story. Well, the Humvee comes around, which is basically almost like a personal vehicle, it's just a military issue.
Yeah.
And you got this big-ass truck coming around. Well, there's a cliff. You can't just move to the left-hand side. If you move, you're going to fall down the cliff. So they moved over as much as they could, and someone told my buddy to drive forward, and I'm watching this. They just completely destroy the side of the fucking Humvee. And let alone, it was the first sergeant's Humvee. So, like, you're destroying the guy who's basically your boss.
Yeah. You basically ran over your boss's Corvette. Good luck.
Yeah, have fun. Like, really good. And we're all just like, okay, today we're off to a great start. This is wonderful, guys. Like, we gotta build a bridge in the next 2 hours, and we just destroyed our first sergeant's vehicle. What else are we gonna do today? And then the fuel line. All that stuff. Yeah, so sleeping in those things sucked. Because for whatever fucking reason, my leadership was like, you're not going to sleep outside. We don't want you to sleep outside. It's dangerous, or I just don't care. I don't want you to do it. Fuck you. I'm like, oh, thanks. You're going to sleep in the truck and suffer like we've always done. I'm like, oh, okay. So for all the time in Texas, I've been sleeping in fucking, except for one night. And I was at the Coyotes. And then I would sleep in the trucks, and it's a pain in the ass. It's so uncomfortable. You can't, because there's like a big metal box like right in the middle between you two, and then there's a drop off in there.
Where the powertrain drives.
Yeah, like all that shit. You can't get comfortable. You can't stretch out your legs. Now I'm a smaller person compared to some other people, so it's kind of
most of the vehicle operators.
Yeah, so it was kind of easier for me, but for tall ass people, they're screwed. We had one dude that was like literally 5'5". He loved it in there. He was fine.
Well, yeah, you're putting him back in the original packaging.
Yeah, he's a midget. He's like, alright, yeah, you go in this little box, you'll be okay. You're fine.
Just curl up in the seat.
Yeah. The night I had to stay outside and the Coyotes came was the day. So we get done with this training event, blah, blah, blah. And they brought my truck down there to anchor off on the bridge that we just built so it doesn't like float off and go anywhere. So I'm just like, shit. Hey, Sergeant, can I just sleep it down there in the boats? He's like, no. Take your fucking cot and go up there. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
But Dad.
I'm like, Dad, come on. Nope. Alright.
Your problem is you asked for permission instead of forgiveness.
I should have just not asked for anything.
Yeah, he wouldn't have noticed.
No, I was just
If
dumb.
you just went down there and went to bed.
I should have just like snuck on the boat. I'm like, I'm just going to sleep here, guys. It's okay. And so
yeah, he wouldn't have even
everybody
noticed,
kept saying that if you slept on the boats, it was like super, super nice. Like the water just going back and forth, you wouldn't get motion sickness, and you would just sleep like a baby. Really wanted that.
Need one?
Yes, please.
Oh. He needs one.
He does. And so I grab the cot out of the truck, and I go up. We go onto this big ass other truck, and we go up to the site. And they all get out and they go in their trucks and they're going to like, all right, I'm gonna sleep. Me, I'm like, fuck, where do I go? So I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to our meeting spot that we always go to. We're trying very slowly not to. Oh, there it goes.
I knew the pop was coming. I was like, no, I don't want the popper.
So I would go up to the meeting site, and I set up. That's where everybody meets in the morning. So might as well just like be ready.
Sleep where everybody else is gonna show up.
Like in the morning, but just wake up a little earlier than most people, and hopefully your phone can like work and not die. Because you don't have a charger out there, so you better like hope it's God to save battery.
Hope your battery was good enough.
Or go in the truck and turn on the truck and like, hey, we're gonna charge batteries on the phone. So I set up the cot and everything, and I'm sleeping it. I sleep for like an hour, and I realize I forget that we have MRE boxes right next to the Humvee, and I didn't realize there were coyotes out here until I hear the howling. And I got closer and closer, and I realized where they were. And I was like, huh, okay, well, I'm going back to bed. I hear him get closer again. I'm like, all right, I should be... Where's my weapon? Here it is. And here's blanks that not going to kill him, but at least it can scare him off. Here's my fucking knife on me. It's the only thing that can protect me. And then just hear him getting closer again. It's like 50 yards or less, just right around the edge.
Which sounds like they're standing on top of you.
Yeah, there's a whole pack of them. There's like 10 of them over there. And they're like right, I could see the Humvee, so and there's like just pine trees or something right below that, like right behind it. All I had to do was go behind the Humvee, go behind the pine brushes, or behind trees, and they're right there. That's where they are. So I'm just hoping to God they just don't come over and like, what? Oh, who's over here?
Oh, this thing is alive.
Like, oh, let me nibble on this motherfucker. Pop off. Everybody just calls. They're like, what happened?
Boing!
It's like, I didn't mean to shoot my weapon off, but these fucking coyotes are gonna bite me. Rabies. I don't know, something.
It wouldn't be fun.
No.
Better that way.
No. Some good times, bad times, all that. Austin was apparently the place to go to get fucked up all the time.
Seems like a party town.
Oh, that's where Texas University is in Austin. So
were you near Austin?
I was in Austin.
Okay.
So we were like an hour away from Austin. So a lot of our buddies that I had to babysit. So I'm not back where in college I didn't have to babysit everybody and get fucked up.
Yeah, I did.
A lot of that. So we would just go down to Austin on 6th Street, and that would be the party street that everybody would go to because, one, there was underage bars for people that were underage, and two, that's where all the college kids went to. Now, I don't give a shit. I was just there to play pool and just get drunk for a little bit. And whoever was DD. Sometimes I did before the car crash, and that was a whole different story. So, that happened. And I would just take care of people. And then San Antonio was one of my favorite places to go to because that was where the Alamo was and the Riverwalk. And the Riverwalk was like really, really nice. And no one would ever expect where it is because it's underneath the city. Yep, and it's right underneath the city. So you see bridges and stuff, and if you looked over the bridge and you would see the water, the canal.
Got like a walkway along the canal.
Yeah, walkways, cool. Restaurants, hotels are around it. And you could go on these like little, I guess, tour rafts, and they'll teach you about like why the Riverwalk became how it was. And then
cool. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then if you went to the Alamo, of course there's the Alamo, but the Alamo's right in the middle of the city. And it's broken pieces. And people were like, oh, the Alamo's pretty small. No, it's pretty big. Because they're trying to recreate what it looked like. And they're still doing construction there. And they're putting like museum pieces up. And it's really, really nice. Expensive, but really, really nice.
That's cool.
So, and it takes like 9 hours to get to fucking El Paso.
It's a big state.
Yeah, it was.
What the heck? Somebody was saying that like, if you were to compare Texas, I think it's like, Ukraine is only slightly bigger than Texas, and it's one of like the largest like European countries outside of like Russia and like
Yeah.
that edge.
Well,
Yeah.
pre-war wasn't grain a major export from Ukraine?
Yeah, it was one of their. I think they were like the breadbasket of Europe. Like that's where most of the grains and food and
Yeah.
general food stuff came from.